This is the Honda X-ADV 750, a rather unusual bike that might be the weirdest bike in their lineup, and to be honest, one of the weirdest bikes on the whole motorcycle market. So in this video, we'll go through the features that make it such an unusual cocktail, and then at the end, I'll tell you why I think they actually work together really well. You see, this bike is a bit of a tale of two halves. The bottom bit is very much a scooter, and so as such, if you hit this button here on the dash, it pops the seat open and you'll find a rather capacious storage compartment. This will take a full lid, so ideal if you're commuting, and it's even got a little USB charger in there and an LED light so you can see all your stuff if you are riding at night. Another thing that makes it quite scootery, I guess, is the floorboards. You've got plenty of space to put your feet, either back here or a little further forward. And then you've got all this lower bodywork, which is absolutely fantastic, of course, if it's raining, because it means all the spray from the front wheel doesn't flick up onto your feet and mean you get absolutely soaked. Then, also with a bit of a scooter influence, you've got slightly smaller than average wheels with a 15-incher at the rear and then a 17 at the front, and these 15 inches are super common on maxi scooters like this. It should help to make it nice and agile if you do want to do city riding and that sort of stuff. All these features though are set against some bodywork, which it has to be said is absolutely adventure bike inspired, with some of the look of its bigger sibling in the form of the Africa Twin. You've got chunky sort of angular shapes, you've got this new yellow paint job for 2025, we've got crash bars down here as well, so it's got that kind of rugged image, and also the spoke wheels certainly add to that kind of look. That sort of adventure bike influence though does extend to the upper half of the bike and the cockpit, with plenty of wind protection from this windscreen, which they've now made a bit easier to adjust, and then also some hand guards, which, you know, are typically to keep branches and stuff off your knuckles if you are riding off-road, but also do give you more wind protection and take a bit of the chill off your hands if it is particularly cold. I think the most unusual feature though that contributes to it doing a sort of impression of adventure bike would be these accessory foot pegs, which try to give you a bit of a, you know, serviceable standing position. We've ridden this one before off-road, previous generations of it, and the main challenge is the standing position, because with the floorboards, your feet are actually too far forward, so you either have to lean back and then you're pulling on the bars, or you're right over the front wheel, which feels a bit perilous. But yeah, on this particular press bike, they've got these accessory pegs fitted, and actually if you put your feet back there, it really does feel quite similar to a typical sort of maybe middleweight adventure bike, and a lot more secure for this style of riding. So, you know, although I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for hardcore adventure riding, it's not got a great deal of ground clearance or protection. That's really interesting. If you did want to take in an occasional trail, it makes it a lot more plausible. Now you've even got some techie features, which I think I'd also say put it on a comparable level with, you know, a fairly well-spec'd adventure bike. There's keyless, new for 2025, there's now a TFT display, so you've got connectivity and those sorts of features like nav. And through that, with this new 5-way D-pad, you can manage all your settings and riding modes. Now these bikes come with Honda's DCT system, or dual clutch transmission, which basically uses 2 clutches to seamlessly move up and down the gearbox, and you can ride it in an automatic mode where it chooses the gears for you, or you can put it in manual and choose the gears yourself with these paddles on the left-hand switch gear. But again, like the Africa Twin, that also is available with DCT, if you go through the riding modes, it's actually got a gravel mode, and that means it gives you a little bit more slip on the rear wheels. So if you do give it some throttle, it allows you to slide the back end out. I don't think this is a feature that you'll see on any other scooter-influenced bike. Nor would you find, I don't think, a handbrake like this. It's a fairly rudimentary system, but the idea is if you want to park on an incline, well, you can't leave it in gear, so yeah, you have to switch this on. And it's nothing particularly fancy, it's just an extra simple brake caliper that's just cable actuated that just locks the rear disc. So, yeah, no high-tech stuff here, just a simple way of stopping it from rolling away. So lots of features that almost seem like they're in conflict with one another, but like I say, it really does combine to make a really practical and usable bike. And one of the reasons, I think, is that it gets the same 750 parallel twin as some of the other bikes in their lineup, like the NC 750. That means you're getting big bike levels of power and torque, and so although it does have a little bit of the look of a scooter, it means it's suitable for motorway work and distance riding, and you can even get full luggage on this bike, so it could even be viewed potentially as a bit of an adventure tourer, just with lots of weather protection. In fact, the whole thing is actually laid out in a very similar way to the NC 750, and that means the fuel tank is actually stored under the seat here, and you press a button again up here and it opens this flap. So if you're sitting on the bike while you close it, you might want to be careful. But that does mean you get a very, very low center of mass. The engine is very much canted forward, all the fuel's stored down here, and so it makes for such an easy bike to ride, very maneuverable, doesn't feel tippy at all. And so despite the fact that it's, you know, it's substantial, it's a fairly weighty bike, it's really easy to get on with for day-to-day riding, and also if you did want to pick your way through traffic, it'd be perfect for that as well. Basically, that means you've got scooter levels of convenience, big bike levels of performance, and all wrapped up in a sort of adventure bike image that I think makes it way more desirable to look at than your average maxi scooter. The only downside is you have to pay for it. It comes in at about 11.5 grand, and so that's about a 3 grand premium over an NC 750X, which, you know, in many ways is a super similar bike, and it's still about 1 grand more than the Forza 750, which is the sort of more typical scooter style equivalent of this X-ADV. Still, I think personally, looking at those other two bikes, this is the one that I'd be drawn to. It's really unusual and interesting to look at, and so yeah, maybe not from a utilitarian perspective, but as something that's exciting to own, you could potentially justify the extra spend. As always, I'd love to know what you think of it though, down in the comments below. Is it something you'd even consider? And if you want to see some of the other previous videos we've made around this bike, I'll make a little playlist so you can check those out. Do hit subscribe for more of the latest motorcycle news and reviews like this right here on MOTOBOB. A massive thanks for watching today, and we'll see you in the next video.